Welcome to Surviving on Shoestrings with Donna Miller. Together we'll look outside the box to stretch what we have, make do, and get by with humor, style, and a smile. And now welcome your hostess, Donna Miller.
Welcome to another episode of Surviving on Shoestrings. I'm Donna Miller, your host, and I'm very delighted to have you with me again today. We have a very special show today. I think this is only my second international show, which has been fun to figure out if we've got all the technical things going correctly, which you guys know I'm not a technical guru by any stretch of the imagination. But we should be good. We should have everything going well. I don't know if you're new listening to the show. I know we have some new listeners based on all of the new website and the new format, and we're delighted to have you here. So if you're brand new, you've never heard of who on earth you're listening to before, I invite you to please check up before you take any advice. You know, my kids always say, wow, you can be anybody on the internet because there's no way of really figuring out who the person is on the other side of the web. So please do a little bit of, I guess recon's the best word. Check out who it is you're listening to, who it is that's speaking into your life, giving you advice and encouraging you. You want to make sure that they're doing it for the right reasons. And I can give you my basis of my reason. You can go back and listen to some of the archives, but it's basically because we have gone through some situations in our family, in our home, that we found it a lot of people are on the same boat. They're trying to make ends meet, stretch what they have, and we hope to help you do it with joy and enjoy the journey. So it's really kind of exciting. When I came across, I honestly don't know how I find, but I don't know the bunny trail that leads me to these wonderful people I get to interview, but I came across Jen Gale. She has this fantastic website, and the story to go along with it, I'm really looking forward to talking with her. The website is called mymakedoandmendyear.wordpress.com. The link is below in the write-up for the show, so if you won't remember that, you will remember My Make, Do, and Mend Year. You will remember that part because as we get into this, you're going to understand why her blog is actually called that. And so I came across her, and we've gone back and forth trying to get the best possible time with the time zone changes and things like that to be able to bring her on the show today so that she can share with you what her entire year, well, I don't think she can talk about the whole year, but what her year was like and some of the hot points of it when she didn't buy anything new. So here's a little bit about Jen. She lives in the southwest of England with her lovely husband and her two young boys, the ages of 5 and 3. Well, in 2012, Jen persuaded the rest of her family to embark upon a year of buying nothing new, and she kept a daily blog about it. My Make, Do, and Mend Year documented their progress. That's the blog site, and you guys are linked to that below. I'm sure you can type it in and find her as well if you're listening without being in front of the show page. Well, the year is officially over for Jen, but the blog continues on, and making do and mending has now become a way of life for her. Jen is very passionate about spreading the word and getting people making do and mending, not only to preserve our precious resources and to save money, but to learn some new skills and have fun too. See, this sounds like exactly the person I like to hang out with. So I'm really delighted to have Jen on the show. We're going to ask a few questions. Just want to make sure that I've got a good connection with her across the ocean. Have I got a good connection, Jen?
You have indeed.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Not a problem.
I am looking forward to asking you questions. I know, we send out questions to say be prepared for these things, but I will warn you, I'm very interested in what you've done, so I might go down a bunny trail.
No problem.
Okay, good. I'm just warning you. It's likely. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you kind of bent to doing this all the time, or was this a brand new thing for you?
No, it was quite new. I never really thought I was particularly arty or crafty, and I'd certainly never sewn. I think I'd tried to learn to knit a couple of times and given up. But I then learnt to sew after we had our eldest, who's now 5, and then just kind of got bitten by the whole sort of crafting and upcycling bug, and then it all just kind of went on from there. But yeah, I'm not one of those kind of people who grew up with the whole kind of make, do and mend ethos, and who grew up using, you guys don't call them charity shops, do you? Do you call them op shops or?
Thrift shops
thrift
charity shops, yeah.
So, that kind of wasn't part of my life particularly. So it was kind of a whole new, opened my eyes to a whole new retail outlets, I suppose. So yeah, it was quite a new experience for us.
That's awesome. I mean, it is actually inspiring to hear someone who's not really done it before take it on in that role of motherhood, where you've got a family and sure. you're not learning it as a child. You're learning something new.
Yeah. Awesome. A lot of people do just kind of grow up with it, I think, and are quite. I get two reactions to it. Either like, oh my goodness, how could you do that? And other people go, well, yeah, why? I do that all the time. So but for us, it was quite a big leap, and it was quite a big step to take.
Well, how did My Make Do and Mend Year get started, and what motivated you to do this?
I think originally, I'm not entirely sure. I read a magazine article about a lady who'd started to do a similar thing, and it was a bit of a kind of light bulb moment. And I thought, well, I wonder if we can do that. And I didn't want to kind of step on her toes because she was blogging about it as well. So I did email her and say, wow, this is really exciting, and I'd love to do it. And would you mind? And she was lovely, and she said, no, the more the merrier, and that's wonderful and brilliant. So I kind of then I mulled it over for a little while, and then I sort of broached the subject with Ben, my husband, who was kind of slightly less keen, and then did a sort of trial month in the month before the year actually started. So it kind of started off more as just a kind of challenge, because I thought it was quite an interesting thing to do, just to see if we could do it. And then it's like anything, once you start learning about something, it becomes you open up cans of worms everywhere you turn, and it becomes you learn about kind of fast fashion and high street clothes, and you start thinking more about where your food comes from and whether it's better to buy local or organic, and it all becomes very complicated. So certainly as the year progressed, it became much more about trying to live more sustainably, trying to live more tread more lightly and all that kind of thing, and very much more a kind of environmental bent to it, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It is a little bit further reaching than everyone starts out to think, I think.
Yes, yeah. It's kind of all encompassing. We ended up going down. We've never quite got to zero waste, but I'd never really associated that whole kind of what you buy becomes what you throw away, and I'd never made that link before. And then suddenly I was like, oh my goodness, yes, totally. So then you start thinking about what you are buying in respect of whether it can be thrown away or be cycled, or all those sorts of things. So it just becomes all encompassing.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said your husband wasn't too excited about the idea in the beginning. Here comes a bunny trail. How did you persuade him? Because a lot of us, the spouse may or may not be on board with some of the things we see. How did you persuade him this was a good thing to try?
We sat down and we kind of came up with our own personal set of kind of rules of what fitted us as a family. So we had certain exceptions. So we obviously decided we could buy food. We said we could buy toiletries, underwear, because we didn't fancy secondhand underwear. Although I don't think we did buy any. We just kind of made do with what we had for the year. And we said new shoes for the kids because we wanted to know that they fitted correctly. So his biggest stumbling block was the fact that I said he couldn't have a newspaper counted as something new. He couldn't buy a newspaper. We couldn't get newspapers in magazines. And that was his biggest stumbling block, was that he couldn't have a newspaper. But yeah, I don't know if he just sort of, I think with a lot of things I do, he just thinks, I'll just say yes and go along with it, and she'll get bored of it after a while. So I think that was his thinking.
Oh, he was wrong. Oh, well. But I'm sure a lot of wonderful things came out of it. I'm sure we'll pick up on that in a minute. Did you have any other odd reactions from other people, friends or family, when you started to do this?
I think a lot, I don't know, I think my family were just a bit bemused by it. They were just a bit, kind of couldn't really understand it. And I think sometimes it's almost, certainly I've found, it's almost harder to talk to your friends and family about what you're doing and why it concerns you and why you think it's so important than it is just to go and talk to people you don't even know about it. Because I think I always get the impression slightly with my friends and family that as soon as I start saying anything, they just roll their eyes a little bit and she's off on one again. Whereas, when you've got a kind of a blog audience, they're already reasonably engaged, otherwise they wouldn't be reading your blog. So it's quite nice in some respects, but I do find it quite difficult to talk to people I know about what I'm doing, because I don't know whether they take it personally that I'm sort of disagreeing with the way they live or how that works, but sometimes I think people get a bit
I think you're exactly right. I think everyone listening to this show can understand this, because either they are trying to be a one-income family in an increasingly two-income world, or they've been forced into that situation with a job loss, or they just simply have this gut-wrenching need to be much more self-reliant and less system-dependent. And I think the majority of our listeners can kind of clue in with your understanding of it's hard to tell those closest to you that maybe didn't know you didn't grow up this way, that now suddenly you look at things differently. And I don't know if they do feel either convicted or threatened or judged or whatever, but you do get some odd reactions, I think, from those closest to you.
No, I find it quite hard when I go sort of home to visit my parents, and I see the stuff that they're putting in the bin, and and they've all the lights on, and I'm like quite twitchy, and I find it quite hard, and I don't know how to kind of approach it in a kind of non-threatening, not in a kind of way that I'm having a go, but just do you realise the impact of what you're doing, and it is really difficult, I think, with family.
It is. Or you can't very well follow around your parents and shut the lights off. Exactly. Or go, what? You're eating this? It comes across kind of painful. There's not a very good, loving way that it can come out. You just have to live your life and hope they pick it up. We've had people years ago start off calling us very strange names, because we've tried to live more like this starting about 25 years ago. And people in the family giving us some awesome little titles that I won't actually repeat. But there have been some things happen in the years that they've turned into us later and have said, some of the things you do make a lot more sense than I thought they would. So one day down the road, you may have that conversation. I don't know how well we can transition our other family members, but at least we can do the best with the ones we've got. Which brings me to, how did your boys handle this? They're little. And
well, I think when we started, William, our eldest, was only 3, and Samuel was, how old was he? Sort of 18 months, not even that. So we were quite lucky. I think it probably would be harder to do it with teenagers who are very much aware of things and of the value of things. Like my kids, and still to a certain extent, couldn't care less whether they get a 50p car from a car boot, sale, or whether it's a all singing, all dancing electric monster truck. They're kind of almost just as happy with either. So it was relatively easy. And we did have one in a charity shop one day, and we were in there, and William just said, "We can buy things in here, can't we, Mummy?" I was like, yes, we can, because I think he was so used to, if we were in another shop to go and, I don't know, go and get some milk or something, but no, you can't have that, no, you can't have that. But they surprised me. Well, he surprised me by being, I think whether he just picked up on the fact that it was non-negotiable, there wasn't going to be an option of, oh, well, go on then, you can have it, whether he just picked up on that, because he very quickly stopped kind of, or, if he did ask, he would just ask the once and then drop it.
That's awesome. That is very good. I know, because I hear daily, every time I'm out in public, the whine of the small child of that thing they're used to getting on their way out of the grocery store, or out of, the material draw, because either their friends at play school or whatever have these, and they think they need them. I hear it a lot. My kids are all adults now, and they will quickly say, "We never knew what a label of clothing meant. Couldn't tell you what was a designer fashion, and they were raised very much like that. but I do know there is a difficulty as kids get older. They feel that pressure to conform.
Yes.
And
yeah,
so
and I'm not sure how we will kind of tackle that. And I struggle a little bit myself with this kind of, at what point are you is it okay to continue imposing your values and your kind of ethics on your children, and at what point do you have to allow them to develop their own sense of what's right and wrong, and allow them to kind of live their lives the way they want to. So I know that we've got that to come.
Well, there is a good side that you've introduced them to something very young that as they get older they can choose. Whereas I think when they're not introduced to that, they have been so stuck and conditioned by societal norm that we are consumers as a society. They're stuck in that and can't get out. So
so they almost don't know that there is a choice.
At least you've posed another, and I know, my children as adults have chosen a far more abnormal life to their peers, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy. So you may find that same thing. So it is good that you've exposed them to that. I think a lot of people were maybe a little nervous about that, but especially when children are young, you can expose them to, buy nothing new for a period of time, and they won't miss a beat.
No, they didn't. I honestly don't think that they were in any way, deprived throughout the year at all.
No. There's no. Well, we're going to take a real quick break, and then we're going to get back and talk with you a little bit about some of the projects and some of your favorites and some of your more daunting ones for the year. And I would just like to encourage everybody to please go by and visit Jen's blogs at My Make, Do, and Mend Year. Again, it's underneath, so if that's the best way for you to connect with it, stay tuned, and we'll be right back after this word from our sponsors.
Do you have your free digital subscription to Prepare Magazine yet? If not, then hurry over to preparemag.com and start getting each monthly issue sent directly to your inbox. It's easy. All you have to do is go to preparemag.com, enter your name and email address, and you're subscribed. Consider signing up for the premium membership for past issues and exclusive resources. Visit preparemag.com and choose the option that's most valuable to you. Prepare Magazine, encouraging, empowering, and enriching your journey.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying tuned. Now we're getting into the fun stuff. Not that the relationships with family and friends wasn't fun, and always, relationships are a fun dynamic to discuss, especially when you choose to live slightly differently than other people. But I love the projects. I think this is probably my favorite part about this, because when faced with the choice to buy it new or replace it rather than repair it, the majority of us will choose what we've been taught for most of life, which is to just get a new one. So I'm anxious to find out, Jen, what were some of your favorite ones that you came across in this past year?
Most of the things that we kind of made were probably presents for other people. So I did a present for my sister-in-law for Christmas that was a scarf and gloves, sort of mitten gloves, and a hat, all from one kind of old woolly jumper, and then kind of crocheted a trim to go around the edges and stuff. And that was just really, really nice and really fun, and pretty quick actually, which I like. I like quick projects. I'm quite impatient, so that was quite fun. And trying to come up with ideas for like little boys' birthday parties was quite hard. So we gave one little boy a snail racing kit, which was quite fun, and just kind of marked out a little racetrack for them and little stickers to put on the snails when he'd found them, and a little explanation of what it was and things. So I hope he enjoyed it.
That's cute. That is very cute. I like the idea of giving gifts that have been made and thought has been put into it.
Yeah.
We've got, I don't know if you face this where you live, but we've gotten into a gift card society where people just buy, they buy the gift card instead of really, and please, anybody wants to send me a gift card, I will take it, but I'm not going to say I won't. But when it comes, I hate when I have to resort to that myself. Because I can't think, do I not know this person well enough?
And if I don't know them well enough to think of something, should I be giving them a present? Yeah.
Exactly. So, I love that idea, because a lot of times that is what gave the sentiment that the person was special. It was unique when you make it yourself. So that's great.
I think definitely if you're going to put the I certainly found if I was going to sit there for, an evening of my time, and my evenings are quite precious because I've got 2 small boys at home and I don't get much time during the day, so my evenings are really precious. And if I'm going to, spend a whole evening of my time making something for someone, I want to make sure it's something that I think they're going to like. So you do end up putting probably a lot more thought into it than you would, if you were just going to buy something, and certainly if you were going to kind of buy a gift card. But yeah, we'd got into that scenario with some of our family members where it was almost just a money exchange, and I just said, we're just not going to do this. It's just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So it was quite gratifying. Like, it was quite hard work, but it kind of brought you back to the core of, what gifting is all about, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You're exactly right. Well, now, those are the good parts. Did you run into any projects that were extremely daunting and you're thinking, I want to give up?
Yeah, Christmas was pretty full on because the year started in September, so it kind of came around quite quickly. And I kind of hadn't really put a huge amount of thought into it, and then was suddenly like, oh, it's December and we've got quite a lot of presents to make. And then I also kind of threw into the mix, well, I don't think we should normally we buy a real Christmas tree each year and then it gets recycled afterwards. But I was like, well, I don't think we should buy a tree, so we're going to make one. And we ended up making one out of egg boxes. We had painted all these egg boxes green and kind of stacked them up. And then, I was like, and then we're going to make paper chains and I'm going to make stockings for the boys. And so it did snowball into this massive thing, which became reasonably stressful by the end of it. And quite typically, we said this year, we're not going to do that again. We're going to be really organised. We're going to be on it, and we so weren't. So we just, so yeah, that was kind of my own fault, I guess. But it was a bit hard work.
You'd come upon the most stressful months in general so shortly after embarking on this journey. You hadn't even really gained the same set of skills you have the next year.
Yes, yeah, and kind of, yeah, and just hadn't done any kind of forethought or forward planning particularly. But yes, I think probably did have. Well, I don't know whether it was easy the first year because you have all the good ideas and then you use them all up the first year and you have to think of even more the second year.
That's true. You have to come up with new ones. Yeah. Exactly. I hadn't even thought about that that's a little bit of a hindrance. The big gift, well, expected gift areas, the big celebratory areas, I would think would be, because you are used to going out and either purchasing decorations or special foods that you wouldn't normally. At least in our home, we don't eat like we do at Christmas.
Sure.
Just at Christmas, we eat that way. So that would be kind of a big hurdle. I hadn't even thought about that being, a time of year that really hits.
Yes.
And kind of explains why the stress level is so high at Christmas time on both ends, whether you're trying to not buy or have to buy.
But it did. I mean, the whole year, I guess, kind of made me question giving in a way I never had before. It's just this automatic expectation of ourselves and of other people, and we're very lucky, and the majority of our family are completely fine money-wise, and so to be honest, if they want something, they go and buy it, and it's not like I remember being a kid and really wanting something and either having to really save for it or having to wait until Christmas. So you end up just buying something because you feel like you have to buy something, so you just buy something, and it's just the whole kind of futility and pointlessness of it kind of became more and more apparent as the year went on. But then on the flip side, I found it really difficult at Christmas. I almost wanted to say to family, look, we're not going to give to the grown-ups and that sort of thing, but then I was like, oh, but it's Christmas and I want to be so it is. I felt really conflicted. It was hard.
It would be. It would be extremely a difficult time. I think, social norms, historically what you're used to as a family, some of the pressures that you feel internally or externally or whatever. Now, people can find your very first Christmas on your blog. Is that correct? Examples and pictures?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a section on the blog that's homemade gifts. So if you are looking for ideas for things to make and stuff, you can have a look on there. And I think I've updated it reasonably recently.
That's wonderful. You have a search capability. So if something is interesting someone who listens. They can type it in and see what you did, pull up some examples and things like that. After spending an entire year doing this, you've got a lot of examples. Tell me what were some of your skills that have come out of that year that you were surprised that you actually have now.
Practically, it was patching jeans. I patched what felt like hundreds of pairs of jeans, because small boys just spend their lives on their knees, and mothers of small boys also probably spend a large amount of time on their knees. So I did have lots of pairs of jeans to patch, and I've come up with kind of various different ways of doing it, and tried out different ways. But I think also I've learned to just have a go, because I think an awful lot of people are quite scared and think, I don't know how to patch. I can't do it. Well, give it a go, and it doesn't matter if the worst happens. You've still got a pair of jeans with a hole in them. It doesn't matter. And I think people are they have this expectation that it's got to be perfect, and and like with making things as well. You just have a go, and who cares if it looks homemade? At least then they know that you've made it and you haven't gone and bought it off the internet or something. Just give it a go. And I think that's a really important skill almost that we've lost.
The willingness to fail. If you're going to fail, go ahead and fail big.
Well, just like if something's already broken, you might as well have a go at fixing it. And if you can't fix it, you haven't lost anything. It's just, I think sometimes we're a bit too scared of we haven't got a manual, we haven't got somebody out there telling us how to do it. We're a bit scared of just having a go and seeing what happens, and having something that might be slightly less than perfect when you finish up.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually
having almost this exact conversation with my daughter yesterday after we had done some things around the house, my older daughter, and she's 26, and she said, I used to think when I was a teenager that I had to wait and learn everything from the experts, or that there were people that were experts and how could I measure up. And then she realized, if I don't just at least do it, I'll never become an expert at anything.
Yeah, you got it, yeah.
And really, all experts are people that aren't telling you what they don't know.
Yes, yeah. Better at hiding it than you are. Yeah.
So you have a very good point. Just jump in and do it. And that skill of almost fearlessness, kind of going after it and doing it, is something that we do need to practice that muscle a little bit. I think you're right.
Yeah, and I don't know if it is a generational thing, whether we have lost that because we're so used to everything being shiny and new and perfect, that we've lost the fact that actually it's okay if it has got a little bit of a hole, or the patch is a bit wonky, or something. Or you can. I'm a big fan of visible mending. I think visible mending is brilliant because I'm quite proud to wear something that I've mended and that people can see that I've mended. And I think that's a really lovely thing to do. But there are people who wouldn't want to do that and wouldn't want people to see that their jeans have been patched or that something's been done. But I don't really care.
It's a badge of honor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, our time is about to run out. I want to make sure that you're able to say what you'd like to say to the listeners, and anything that you can leave and encourage someone listening that might be, I don't know, maybe nervous about getting started doing this more.
Everybody always asks me what I kind of learned during the year, and I think expecting me to say skills and that sort of thing. The biggest things I learned were if you believe in something and you want something to change, you have to kind of, as cliched as it sounds, you have to be that change, and you have to not worry about what everyone else is doing, not worry about the fact that your next door neighbour isn't doing their recycling or that China's burning all the fossil fuels. Just live how you want to live and take the responsibility for the choices that you make every day, in the shops and at home, to take responsibility for those choices and kind of be proud of the choices that you make and kind of live the life that you want to be living, because it's very easy to procrastinate and kind of say, I can't do it because of this and that and that. Well, actually you can, and you can make that choice, and I think that's massively empowering, and that's the biggest thing that I learned, and that's kind of the message I want to spread to everybody, I guess.
I think that's fantastic. That's a very encouraging and empowering message, and I appreciate you sharing this time with us.
No problem.
And sharing your blog throughout the whole time. Now, real quick, do you anticipate still living this way in the future as long as possible?
Yeah, I mean, we are slightly less strict now. There are things we have bought new, but I put a lot more thought into what I buy now. And if we do buy something new, we try and make sure it's as kind of ethical as possible. So, personally, I wouldn't buy new clothes off the high street anymore. I will always buy second-hand clothes. And kind of to a certain extent, I think it's probably now more me driving it. Like, my husband didn't buy any clothes for the whole year because he just didn't want to buy charity shop clothes, or he couldn't find anything he liked in the charity shops. But I kind of think, well, that's his choice now. If he wants to go and buy something from the high street, that's kind of his choice, and I have to let him do that. But, on a very personal level, there's things like that. And new things we do buy, we put a lot more thought into whether we could buy it secondhand first, and then what's the most kind of ethical option if we are going to go new.
Wonderful to hear it's going on. Well, thank you so much, Jen. I appreciate you spending the time. I appreciate you sharing your journey with everyone. And I want to encourage everyone listening to stop by and leave your little note and encourage you along the way.
That would be lovely, yeah.
Thanks
great.
so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
God bless. We'll talk again soon. Take care.
Okay, take care.
This has been another episode of Surviving on Shoestrings, and I'm delighted that you spent some time with me today. I hope that you go forward and tackle the journey that's ahead of you with joy and enthusiasm, and just to make the most of it. Until next time, this is Donna Miller signing off, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Surviving on Shoestrings with hostess Donna Miller. Tune in each week for a new show that will help you enjoy frugal survival with humor, style, and a smile.